I'm going to rank the top 10 biggest positional needs for the San Francisco 49ers as they head into the NFL draft and free agency. And we know the 49ers are going to have to make some moves in order to make sure they have a competitive roster. And we actually have the roster right here. Shout out to David Lombardi using his spreadsheet. It's a phenomenal tool to be able to track the positions, and it'll give us an opportunity to visualize kind of what I'm thinking. I'll drop a link in the description below. But let's start with the number one positional need, in my opinion, and that starts on the defensive line. I do believe the 49ers' number one positional need is interior defensive tackle. As we know, Javon Hargrave is going to be basically slotted as a post June 1st release. So the 49ers will be moving on from him. And that only leaves Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, and Evan Anderson as your interior defensive tackles. I like Malik Collins, but I like him as a rotational pass rusher, situational pass rusher. And I also like Jordan Elliott as like a rotational base down guy. And I do think Evan Anderson has shown quite a bit. I really like Evan Anderson, but I do think the 49ers need a dominant interior tackle, specifically to play at the 3-tech position. And could they look into the draft to find that, or potentially free agency? We'll have to find out, but that is number one on my list. And as you can see, I don't think we have a solidified starter that can play 3 downs, but we have some pieces. But that for me is number one. Now, number two, you probably will agree with, and maybe some others won't. Maybe this is not number one for some of you guys, but I have interior offensive line as the second biggest positional need, simply because I do believe Aaron Banks will enter free agency and will likely sign with another team. The 49ers still have Spencer Burford, Jake Brendel, Nick Sakel on their team. Hey, they even signed Drake Nugent to a future reserve contract. So they have some options. We'll see if they bring back Ben Barch to compete for one of these spots. I prefer they do, just based on the limited action we saw from him. He played phenomenally well against the Bills. So I would like to see him get that opportunity. But I think the 49ers, least fans, biggest issue right now with the 49ers offensive line is at center and left guard. I do think that they can improve at those positions. So for me, whether it's free agency with a guy like Drew Dahlman or potentially heading into the draft and finding a center guard, that to me is going to be the second biggest need, because protecting Brock Purdy, and a guy that we expect to get paid, you got to protect your investment. And if you can give Brock Purdy time, you give him the opportunity to be able to dice up opposing defenses even more. And we saw that the interior defense, offensive line just had a really hard time running the football last year. So that would be my ideal number two on this list. For number three, it's got to be linebacker for me. Now, Fred Warner leads the depth chart here as one of the, not one of the best linebacker in the league, but you got D Winters and Tatum Bethune. While I like both of them, you need more depth. And if it's not going to be Dre Greenlaw, it's got to be someone else. You have to get a solidified LB2 to partner with Fred Warner. D Winters has shown flashes, but he hasn't shown consistency, and that's really the biggest thing that we need right now. Tatum Bethune seems like a really quality special teams player. Maybe he can jump into that role. Maybe they bring Jalen Graham back. I don't know if they're going to bring Dre Greenlaw back. I know most 49er fans think they absolutely should, but that's why linebacker is ranked number 3 as the biggest need positionally on this team. Number 4, I have cornerback. You can see down here in the bottom corner, you got Deommodore Lenoir, Renardo Green, Darrell Luter Jr. That's it. That's what we got. And so I do think the 49ers need to improve there. I'm not sure Charvarius Ward returns. And so the 49ers really need to find that cornerback three to go with Diamador and Renardo. I don't believe Isaac Yadam will return, and I think the 49ers will continue to look for those next guys. There are some quality cornerbacks in this draft. Maybe they turn to free agency again to be able to find maybe a 1 year veteran plug and play type of guy, but they do need to get stronger at cornerback, in my opinion, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. I also have tight end. Tight end up here is uh number 5 on my list. I've got George Kittle clearly as the best tight end in the NFL, but behind him, you only have Braden Willis, Jake Tonges, and you got Mason Pline on a reserve contract. I think the 49ers need to find a solid tight end 2 and a really dependable blocking tight end 3. So we'll see what the 49ers do there. At number 6 on my ranking, I have safety because as it stands right now, the 49ers have Malik Mustafa, Jair Brown, and George Odom. Now, we don't know if Talanoa Hufanga will return or not. He is slated to enter free agency, so that is one of the reasons why this is on my list because we don't know if he will be back. And Jair Brown definitely had a bumpy road in 2024, while Malik Mustafa has absolutely proved that he is going to be a very, very good safety in this league and is going to be a starter next year. So the 49ers, I either think, need to find someone to compete with Jair Brown or can at minimum be quality depth. George Odom is a key special teamer, and that's typically the role that he plays. They don't seem to rely on him all that much at the safety position, but he could. But I do think it would be wise for the 49ers to get stronger at that position. At number 7, I have edge on my list. Now, this one's an interesting one because they actually have a decent amount of bodies. They have Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd as your starters, Yetur Gross Matos and Sam Okiwanu. Sam O was a baller last year, and he really proved that he deserves to be on the 53-man roster, and I absolutely want him a part of this rotation. And along with Yetur Gross Matos, I think Yetur Gross Matos is only going to improve, and Leonard Floyd, racking up 8 sacks, proved he can be relied on as well. But I do think the 49ers need to get younger at this position, and this defensive edge kind of edge class is stacked. So it could be a great opportunity for the 49ers to add edge talent for sure. But you also got, Drake Jackson, who hopefully is coming back off of injury. Robert Beal Jr. hasn't really flashed all that much as a former 5th-round draft pick. The 49ers also added Teron Jackson and Jonathan Garvin during the season. So I do think edge is absolutely going to be a positional need. So we'll see what happens there. I have offensive tackle at number 8. And the reason why I have it at number 8 is because they have a starter. Even though I know most people are really pushing for the 49ers to upgrade that position, whether it's through the draft, maybe potentially free agency. But I do think the fan base wants to see the 49ers get better at right tackle. I don't know if that is going to be this year. I don't know if any offensive lineman, let's say at 11, that the 49ers fans would want will be available there. So we'll have to see how that ultimately goes. But the reason why it's lower on my list is because they technically already have a starter there. So Colton McKivitz has 1 more year left on his deal, and we'll see what the future holds for him. But obviously, the 49ers do want to start looking towards the future at offensive tackle at both left and right. So I do think it is still considered to be a need. I just have some other ones ranked higher than them right now. Running back will enter the list for me at number 9, just because you got Christian McCaffrey, you have Isaac Guerendo. There's a potential chance that Elijah Mitchell could re-sign on a 1-year prove it deal after missing all of last year on IR. They did sign Israel Bonaconda, and we don't know what the future holds for JP Mason. He is a restricted free agent. I don't know if he lands on another team, but we'll have to see. But I do think the 49ers would be wise to keep trying to find late round running backs, even undrafted free agents, to see how they could fit in, because the 49ers have done a really good job of identifying talent at that position later on. And at number 10, I got punter. Rounding out my list. Mitch Wishnowsky dealing with chronic back issues. It might be time to find the next punter, and I'm not saying through the draft or anything like that, but I do think they might need to find someone else who can come in and play that role, just because back injuries are no joke, and you just really never know when those things are going to pop up and start bothering you. So that is my list. And to recap, first on my list is interior defensive line, second, interior offensive line, third, linebacker, fourth, cornerback, fifth, tight end, sixth, safety, seventh, edge, eighth, offensive tackle, nine, running back, and 10, punter. But I want to see your list. You rank them in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.